You know who's another one that I'm dreading to do? Because I put them in the same category as friggin', her stupid name was just in my head. You know who I'm talking about.
Jodi Arias.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
How I know? I don't know.
You know. I know
Yeah.
you know. Friggin' Casey Anthony.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
Bitch.
She did it.
I know. She absolutely did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to have to do that one. You have to do that one because I did the one that I did today.
I mean,
Yeah.
and did she have another baby now, I believe?
Oh, I don't fucking know. I don't. Does she?
I feel like she may have.
I fucking hope not.
And I don't know if that's what I'm thinking because there's been so many stories in my brain.
No, it looks like she does not. Thank God for that.
Just stupid.
Yeah.
She's a stupid, ugly lady.
But speaking of which, my story today is so bad. It's so bad. Yeah. I've been watching stuff. I even made Ahmed watch stuff about it for the last week. And it just took me forever to come around to putting pen to paper.
Yeah.
So I didn't start it till yesterday afternoon. And it's 8
I'm
pages.
trying to not do that. I'm trying to be I don't even know who I'm going to do for next week.
Yeah. Oh, well, you said the last one that Issei, said he was fucking torturing you.
He was just it's just so gross. Honestly, you just don't even want. It's funny because obviously it's a podcast. Obviously, we're going to have to talk about something and, share. But you just don't want to because the people themselves and the situations are just so gross.
Yeah, it's so vile.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, and it's hard. It's the podcast where it's all serious and everyone's serious and stuff. And that would be way easier. It's a lot harder to make it at all funny. This one's not funny at all.
You know
There's
what?
not going to be any funniness in today's episode, so get that right out of your head.
I almost feel it's just not appropriate to always make the jokes.
Yeah.
But in my head, there's a lot of ridiculous stuff floating around.
Yeah, this is your only laugh for this episode. So welcome to Why They Do That, a very serious true crime podcast.
I am LaShonda, that is Sarah, and we are going to talk about something horrible today.
A horrible, horrible story. And it's one that, for the OG listeners, I said I would never do this. I said you would never hear this on this fucking podcast. But here we are, episode 50. Yeah. I knew I had to make it a real hardcore one. And so we're doing the story of Chris Watts.
Okay, I don't know names.
Chris Watts, the family annihilator.
All right, well, fuck, I guess I don't know who it is then. Because I don't know why I'm drawing such a blank right now.
I'm going to show you his picture. I think you'll recognize him.
All right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Watts.
All right, we got it. We got there. I'm not going to lie. I was really she better not say that Albert Fish guy.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm leaving that for you.
You keep leaving.
You claimed him.
You
claimed him.
He is not claimed.
I said he was on my list, but you claimed him, so I took him off my list. He's all yours, LaShonda.
I have gone through every other name, skipped it.
He's your level of sickery. He's all yours. You and Albert, away you go.
That's going to have to be one of those times that I'm I have nobody, there is nobody, I have nothing, and I need a gross one, and then that will be the day.
And then Mr. Fish, here you come.
I cannot tell you when that will be, but,
it's probably not going to be next week.
Definitely not.
All right, here's the story. I don't want to do it. Okay.
Don't even do it.
I don't want to do it. So I'm going to start with Shanann. Shanann Ruchek, born January 10th, 1984 in Aberdeen, North Carolina.
Aberdeen? Why does it sound so familiar? So I feel like maybe somebody else was from there. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure there's other people from there.
I think it's a pretty big city in North Carolina.
But I feel like we've spoken about, it just sounds really familiar. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, I feel like there are some
rambling.
North Carolinians. Yeah. So her parents, Sandra and Frank, and she had one brother, Frank Jr., and from all things I've seen written, it seemed like a pretty normal upbringing. Mm. They were not rich by any means. They were not poor. They were not this. They were not that. They were just a regular family. Mm. So Shanann met a guy named Leonard King in high school, and they got married around 2002, 2003, when Shanann was 18 or 19 years old. Now, Leonard was about 4 or 5 years older than Shanann, and the marriage lasted about 5 years. And for one reason or another, I couldn't find the actual reasons. There's a lot of opinions out there on Reddit, I'll say, but I did not include any of those opinions in this because I couldn't find any actual evidence of the validity of those opinions. So their marriage broke down. It was like 2007 or 2008, and Shanann was about 24 at this time. So it's been like maybe a couple years since the divorce, and Shanann's like still having a pretty hard time with it. She says it was a really hard divorce. It was like a hard relationship, hard divorce, hard breakup. It was like very emotionally stressful for her. And so around 2010, she gets a Facebook friend request from a fellow North Carolinian named Chris Watts. And they did have a mutual friend. It was Chris's cousin or something, like a cousin or a second cousin or something like that. So something said at first she was like, no, I don't want to accept this friend request or whatever. And then he was persistent, and the cousin was like, oh, I think you would like Chris. He's a nice guy. Give him a chance.
That was back in the days where you're actually selective about who you added.
Yeah. Now you just have like, oh, I've maxed out my 5,000 friends. I better start deleting some of these people. So Chris was about 25 years old at the time, and he's a year younger than Shanann. Everybody described him as being like very shy, very introverted, but nice guy. I couldn't find what his occupation was at the time, but they get together, they start dating, and Shanann had nothing but praise for Chris, saying he had been sent to her at that time because she was still emotionally damaged from her divorce and was having some health issues at the time. She liked to document everything, so like everything is videos. She would go live on Facebook all the time. Like everything about her life is documented, so there's a lot to watch and to gather from for this, to talk about her. But she said in a video that she was diagnosed with lupus.
Okay.
And so she was like, just saying she's like so tired all the time. She was having a hard time like getting up, waking up. She said her hair was sort of like starting to fall out. She was just having all these health problems. And that Chris was apparently like very attentive, very caring. He took care of her. He was always, asking her if she needed water. Did she need to rest? Did she need this? He always was just like there to help her out. And her friends and family said the same thing of him.
Okay.
So at the beginning, I guess everybody felt like he was, heaven sent, if you will. So the couple began dating in 2010. They got married in 2012. And in 2013, they moved to Colorado for a job opportunity. So by the end of 2013, Shanann gave birth to the couple's first daughter, and her name was Bella. In 2015, Shanann was making just under $30,000 a year working at a children's hospital in Colorado, and Chris was making about $70,000 as a field operator for a company called Anadarko Petroleum. And despite the roughly $91,000 combined income between the two of them, the couple had about $70,000 of debt, and that was student loans and credit card balances. And so in 2015, they did file for bankruptcy.
Really? I feel like that's something that you can come out of when you have that sort of income. You're almost at, six-figure income.
Well, they also had a house. They had bought a house in Colorado that cost, I think, about $400,000. So,
Okay.
And it just sounds like, maybe from what I've read, maybe Shanann had a little bit of like a spending thing, and everything with the family. Like I said, she likes to put all the videos online. Yeah. And so everything was very sort of like, look at our family, like, look what we have, look how, we're just like the perfect little, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I get it.
I feel like there was more spending than there was earning. So all their friends and family apparently had no idea about their financial struggles, as everything about their lives seemed picture perfect. So in July of the same year, the couple had their second daughter, Celeste Catherine Watts, whom they referred to as Cece.
Okay, that's
So
cute.
Bella and Cece, yeah. This is a hard one.
Yeah, I keep waiting for you to get into the nitty-gritties of it.
Yeah,
but,
I just have to give you the background first.
yeah.
So Shanann quit her hospital job and she started working for an MLM, so a multi-level marketing company, if you recall, and it was called Lavelle. So she did very well at this job, and she was actually even given the company Lexus due to her sales numbers.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So some people thrive in those companies and some people flounder, and she did well because that's what she did. Like, she just made videos about her family, and she'd do her lives on Facebook, and she'd talk about these products and those products. So everything was perfect.
Super.
Or was it?
I don't know.
It was not.
Doesn't seem so. So if you're on this show, something went awry.
God. Bad. So as I was mentioning, there's like a lot of horrible stuff written online about Shanann in particular. And I'm not going to get into it because...
We don't victim blame.
Yeah, it's very victim blamey. No one's perfect. And like a lot of the negative comments centered around Shanann's like relentless documentation of her family and her life and everything online. And I guess people just were sort of like, a lot of people were saying like she's narcissistic because of this documentation. But at the same time, it doesn't come across as like super narcissistic. It comes across more as like
attention seeking.
It is attention seeking.
You know what? I think that is a big misconception. A lot of people will see, like, they view like the whole quote unquote narcissistic thing, and they kind of throw that at so many situations. And it really just sounds like she's kind of like she wanted to be an influencer before influencing was a thing.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Pretty much.
And for me personally, I don't like when people put their whole life story on the internet.
Yeah.
None of my friends do that. And if they did do that, I would have to be like, listen, you got to stop that shit. Nobody cares if you're upset today. If you had a Big Mac, nobody cares.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
But like I said, none of my people do that. And I don't do that. I haven't posted in like 4 years.
Well, and I think when you do get into these like MLM things, the people who you're being brought in by are like training you and grooming you basically to do exactly that. Like, people need to see how fabulous your life is, because it's not just about selling the products, it's about getting other people to sell the products.
Yeah.
So you have to be like, look how well I'm doing, look at my house, look at my family, look at my Lexus that I got because my numbers are so great. This company's so great. Look how much it's benefited my life. You too could have this.
That's true.
If you do what I do, you'll have the life that I have. So to me, it seemed more sort of, not that she didn't also like enjoy it and like get probably like self-esteem and stuff out of it. But it seemed also like it served a purpose.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I wouldn't say narcissistic.
Yeah. So on June 11th, 2018, Shanann posts a video of herself revealing to Chris that she's pregnant for a third time. Again, there's a lot of commentary about this online. I watched this video over and over and over. And to me, as an introverted, shy person, he seems happy about it. He does make one comment where he goes, wow. And that's the only thing where I'm like, was that a wow fuck or like a wow, this is so great?
Yeah.
But the words that he says and the way that he says it to me seems fine. He seems happy about it. But a lot of other podcasts and a lot of people just on Reddit and other forums basically were like, oh, he's so fake and he didn't seem happy. He seemed upset about it. Didn't come across that way to me.
All right.
So 3 days later, June 14th, 2018, Shanann records video of Bella singing a song about how her daddy is her hero and how much she loves her daddy. So that's online as well. I thought about putting it in here, but honestly, I think I texted you last week and I was like, I've been watching stuff about who I'm doing and I'm like literally just sitting in my room by myself sobbing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think I've like desensitized myself enough to it that I can just get through this without crying about it. But it was very upsetting knowing what happened to like see that happen so close to the time. On the same day as Shanann posts this video of Chris's little girl singing about what a fucking hero he is, he enters the contact information of a female coworker into his phone. Okay, so cue now Nicole Kessinger.
Okay.
So during the later interviews, Nicole's interviewed, Chris is interviewed, Nicole would state that Chris had told her he was married with kids, but that he and his wife were already in the process of separation and divorce. Shanann, on the other hand, is posting a Father's Day appreciation post about how lucky she and the girls are to have him and what great care he takes of all of them.
Was this a situation that it's almost like that stereotypical like man feeling of like too much responsibility, everything's coming at me, I can't breathe in here, all that?
Yeah, it's very possible. It definitely could be. He doesn't actually say that later. Like, I'll tell you kind of like his explanation later, but that's not what comes out of his mouth.
Okay.
So Shanann even posts ultrasound pictures with the caption stating that Chris is the best dad us girls could ask for. And at this point, I'm like, is this Nicole girl not stalking this page at all? Like, if you're dating a married man and he's telling you like that he and his wife are divorcing and it's all in the process, but you know he's still living at the house with her and the kids, are you not going to just go onto Facebook and pull up this woman?
You must.
You would think so.
There's no way. First of all, the fact that he's still living in the house and all that, first red flag, you know? And it's not even like, you know, we're in the process of getting my own, I'm in the process of getting my own place or whatever. That's the first thing. But then as a female, I'd be like, well, so you and your wife, and then I'm going to look up the wife. And then obviously, since she's put up so much stuff over the years, there's going to be a whole slew of things. And I'm definitely 100%.
Like, and up to that day, she's posting what a great dad he is, what a great husband he is, how happy they are. The fact that they are now pregnant with a third child. You think she'd go on there and she'd be like, oh, that took me 1 second.
Some women don't care.
Don't care. Yeah, I guess. Don't
Some
care.
women don't care. Sometimes it's like, if he's saying, yeah, she posted that just for her job to say like, you know, it's because of this or it's because of that, or, you know, he could be telling her all kinds of things. And then it's like, you want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I guess.
You want to
but
believe.
It's like, it's not even like it was like 10 years ago, 20 years ago before we were all like fucking
day.
basically FBI agents level stalking. It's 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Personally, I would.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stalking guys who are not, like, granted, I'm not going to date a guy who's married with children and in the process of separating. But if I was, I'd be stalking him. I'm like, I'm going to look any guy that I start dating. I'm going to look thoroughly into his social media.
100%. 100%.
I think it's pretty reasonable.
I would agree.
So, despite everything on social media seeming rosy, the neighbors later state that they would hear the couple yelling and fighting, and sometimes they would even see them out in the driveway, like screaming at each other. So, I would say it wasn't so rosy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Safe to say. And so, from the sounds of things, they were actually also again starting to accumulate debt.
Okay.
I think that's always like a vicious cycle with people.
Money management is a tough thing.
Yeah. So when she was working for this MLM, she was making a lot more money than she was.
Oh, yeah. Because I was going to say, there's no way she's making $30,000, so it's going to be more.
Yeah. I think she was making more like somewhere around like 70,000.
Okay. So then 70 taxes, 60.
It does the same thing again to people where, and a lot of realtors do this, like they start making more money, or you'll make more money this year. And so then that becomes your budget in your brain of like, I make this much, so I can spend this much. Or I made this much last year, so this year I can spend this much. And then something happens and you don't have as good of a year. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I've spent more than I spent last year and I made less.
Yeah.
So now I'm fucked. So on June 27th, Shanann takes the girls on a 5 or 6 week trip to visit their families, both of their families in North Carolina. So Chris does not go on the trip. He said he couldn't go because of work, but that he would try to come out for like the last week or whatever they're there.
He was banging that Kellogg girl.
According to Nicole.
What's the last name? Kellogg?
Gessinger.
Kessinger.
That Kellogg girl.
She's Kellogg girl from here on out, everybody.
So, according to Nicole, she went to Chris's house for the first time on July 4th.
Okay, now, again, to your point, if I'm going to your home, I'm going to be looking at where's your room? Oh, it's still in the same room as your wife?
Right.
Where's all your clothing? Where's all your stuff?
Right.
Oh, it's still in the same room with your wife?
Right.
You have to know by that point. At the very least, even if you didn't look at any social media stuff,
Yeah.
at this point, you have to be looking around being like, all of your stuff is pretty intertwined.
Yeah. Oh, both of your toothbrushes are in the bathroom. All of your shampoo and her shampoo is in the shower together. Like,
Even the most amicable divorce is still going to be like, okay, now we're separate. You know what I mean?
moving along on the timeline, July 7th is when the phone records indicate the first phone call takes place between Chris and Nicole.
Okay.
So by July 10th, Shanann is starting to get suspicious, obviously. And like, if you watch the Netflix documentary, it's pretty good. The timeline follows along pretty well, and they do this thing, which some people are saying that they hated this, but I kind of liked it because there's so many texts between them. And so they would have it where it would be like a picture of Shanann, and then she'd be like typing the text or whatever, and it would be typing along, and then it would be like, no response from Chris, no response from Chris. And then you'd get a response from Chris, and he'd be like, baby, everything's fine. You know I love you so much. I'm just so busy with work. And I'm like, that sounds so familiar. You know. So something to note in this whole thing, Chris had become overweight during the couple's marriage, and he sheds about 65 pounds, trimming fat and gaining muscle. And during the later investigation, the detective even points it out to him and says, you know, it's pretty common for married men to lose weight and to get fit and to get in shape when they're cheating or thinking about cheating on their spouses. Yeah. And Chris is like insistent. He's never cheated. I've never cheated on my wife. I've never cheated on my wife. He says multiple times. And he more or less indicates that he lost the weight for like health reasons. And then he even sort of goes as far as to hint that maybe Shanann had cheated on him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, isn't the pot calling the kettle black?
Very much so, yes. Yeah. Okay, so back to July 10th. Shanann texts Chris, and I have the text here. So she asks him, you okay? It's like you don't want to talk. I kept trying to talk, and I had to dig it out of you. He replies, I'm fine, baby. The last few days at work have put a lot of responsibility on me with new people. I didn't mean to seem short, boo. I love you to the moon and back. Heart and then kissy face. And then she responds, I miss you, and I feel like you just want to work out and run. Watts claimed running helps clear my head. It's a way to free it all. Shanann didn't buy this excuse. I wish my husband wanted to talk to me. Was her response. So she's obviously, she knows something's up. Something's weird.
Kicking up.
Yeah, he's very distant, whereas he's normally like very connected with her. They're very communicative, texting, calling, like they're always in touch. And also just the fact that she goes on this trip with the kids and visits his family and her family, and he's not there, is obviously also a red flag and a big indicator to her that like something is weird. So July 14th, Chris is getting more bold. He and Nicole go on a date to a car museum, and Chris ignores several phone calls from Shanann during that time.
All right.
So over the next couple of weeks, it's all dates, romance, love notes, a camping trip, nude photos, sex, all of this between Nicole and Chris.
Yeah.
And so he's obviously putting a lot of time and effort into that. And he's increasingly ignoring and avoiding Shanann. And she's not letting it go. Like, she's texting him. She's saying, you know, we haven't spoken the whole time we've been here. You haven't called even once to speak to your daughters.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you know, I miss you guys to the moon and back. You know, I want to talk to them. I've just been so busy, but I'm going to call them later. And then he like wouldn't call.
Yeah.
She's FaceTiming him. He's ignoring her FaceTimes. He's ignoring her calls. Like, clearly something is up.
Yeah.
So between them, as I said, it's all avoidance, it's coldness, it's lies, it's excuses. He's literally flipped from a married man with 2.5 children to basically a single guy with a new girlfriend in a matter of 4 weeks. So then on July 31st, Chris flies out to North Carolina to join his family on their summer vacay. So according to texts between Shanann and her friends, he's been acting very weird. He doesn't act like he's been missing her or the girls at all. He doesn't want to touch Shanann. He doesn't want to kiss her. And he even turns her down for sex.
See, then you have to know, as a woman, you know how your man is, especially when he's the type that's constantly touching you all over, looking at you, everything.
Yeah. So something said this happened on August 4th, but something said it happened before Chris even got to North Carolina. But one way or another, there's a huge blowout between Shanann and Chris's parents, in particular Chris's mother. Oh. And it's over pistachio ice cream. So basically what had happened was the younger daughter, Cece, has a lot of allergies, and one of her allergies is to nuts, and she's super allergic to pistachio. And so she had said to the mother, you can't eat that around Cece. And it's really hard from the way everyone describes this fight to say how it went down.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was an overreaction on Shanann's part. Because then you read the text afterwards and she's texting Chris and she's basically saying oh, I never want to see them again. They're never going to see the girls again. She's evil. She's putting our children's lives in danger. She's trying to kill them. She's an evil person. I may be overly protective, but I'm their mother and I'm going to protect them, yada, yada, yada. It did seem like an overreaction.
That seems like an overreaction. However, what I will say is that if Cece has such a severe allergy to nuts and whatnot, it's better to be safe than sorry, because anything could happen. You could eat it. Oh, she fell and hurt her knee and she's crying. Oh, come here. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then boom.
Right.
You just never know. And because she's young as well, it's not like she's an adult that would be able to manage things better or deal with things better. So it's just better to be safe than sorry. Just wait till they go home. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, and the mother claims she didn't know about the allergy, which I think is probably not true because Shanann's so vocal about everything. I don't believe for a second that she didn't know about it.
Especially a nut allergy. I feel like that is
maybe she forgot about it.
That, better you say that.
Maybe she thought oh, I love pistachio ice cream. I'm going to get my usual pistachio ice cream. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then your grandkids come over. They see there's ice cream in the fridge. They're not thinking, what's a pistachio?
Exactly.
So Chris later refers to the whole nut thing as Nutgate. Oh. And he indicates that it seemed to him and to his family that Shanann was trying to drive a wedge between him and his family.
See, again, I wouldn't even say that, because if that was the case, I don't think she would have even gone there in the first place, If I plan a trip out and I'm expecting my husband to come and he doesn't for whatever which reason, to be honest, depending on the relationship that I have with my in-laws, I might just say, okay, I'll save that for the final week or whenever it is that you come, and then we'll all go over there. For me to go alone with the children, depends on the relationship.
Yeah, but it's those are their grandchildren. It's not just you going by yourself. You know what I mean?
There's that too.
It's a totally different state. You're going to be there for 5 or 6 weeks. They're right there. If you only take them to your parents, that's going to make you look pretty bad. To me, it came across more as she knew that she had to try to include them. But okay, from everything I read, they didn't like her right from the get-go. His whole family didn't really like her. And she was aware of that. So I think she was trying to act oh, I'm the victim here, or I'm the good one, and I'm the one putting in the effort, and they're, her text said they're evil, they're this, they're that, but she obviously didn't trust them.
That's the thing. She is controlling in that way, which I will say, it seems like she's a little loopy about certain things.
Yeah, and even her best friend, after they realize that she's missing, and there's all the police cam footage, her best friend says to the cop, she is kind of controlling. And she kind of laughs and she goes, but not in a bad way. Like not in a bitchy way, like just sort of, where she like pushes you to be the best version of yourself. And I was like, okay, that's a way to describe your friend.
I mean,
in a nice way.
Yeah.
So in terms of Nutgate, as we were saying, I think she overreacts, he underreacts, but then he also like pretends to be on her side. Like you see texts between him and her, and he's saying, she's saying it was completely unacceptable and they need to apologize and I deserve an apology and blah, 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 blah. And then he was saying, he's responding to her saying, yes, you're right. They shouldn't have endangered her and, it's irresponsible and blah, blah, blah. I feel like it seems like he just sort of like says what he knows she wants to hear.
Yeah.
And then he does nothing about it.
Okay.
So on the same day as this all happens, August 4th, Nicole is back in Colorado, and she is Googling wedding dresses.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Come on, Kellogg.
So the family travels back to Colorado together, and Shanann continues anxiously texting all her friends about how different Chris is acting, his avoidance, his lack of intimacy, both physically and otherwise. And then a few days later, on August 9th, Shanann actually has to leave for a business trip. So her and her friend, also Nicole, a different Nicole. Okay. So maybe we will refer to the other Nicole as Kellogg from now on.
Told you.
So Nicole, Shanann's friend, her and Shanann get on a plane and they go to Arizona, and they're only going to be gone for 3 or 4 days. So the day before she leaves, she texts her friend that even though he's still distant, he's being a little more chatty and he's being a little more like Chris. So she sounds hopeful. She says they had the best talk ever. And, it seems like she has like a renewed hope in the relationship, let's say.
Yeah.
The morning she leaves for Arizona, she leaves him this big, long, handwritten letter. It says how much she's been missing him, how hard the last 5 weeks have been, and that she's willing to try to work things out with him and his parents, if they'll apologize, she says. And she says she loves him and that she's going to fight for him because he's worth it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
I know there's some things coming up.
There's some other things coming up. So Shanann's gone now. She's in Arizona. Chris has the kids. August 11th, he hires a babysitter, and he tells Shanann he's going to a baseball game with his coworkers, and then he proceeds to take Kellogg's to a sports bar for a date. Yeah. Now, he's getting more and more careless, and this time, instead of using cash like he normally does, he charges the bill to he and Shanann's credit card.
Foolish.
Yeah.
Foolery.
So Shanann clocks this, like, right away, and she calls him, and she's like, what's this $60 at the sports bar? And he tries being like, oh, I had salmon and a beer. And she's like, oh, yeah? Send me the menu.
Oh.
And so he sends her the menu, and she's like, so $60, like, you had salmon and a beer, that's $25 or whatever. What's the $60? And he can't explain it, obviously. He just, makes up some excuse. So she's obviously got her suspicions.
Yeah.
She's on to him. Something's going on. Now, Shanann is due back the next day. But her flight does get delayed, so she, instead of arriving the evening, her and Nicole, her friend Nicole, arrived the next morning around 2 a.m. on August 13th.
Okay.
So according to some of the final texts that Shanann sent to her friend, she and Chris had sex upon her arrival home at 2 in the morning. Then she went to sleep, and she was excited and hopeful for her marriage.
He just keeps giving her like that just enough.
Yeah.
Like, that just enough here, that just enough there.
Yeah.
And I know she loves him. She wants it to work, but she's just accepting that and taking that. Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty bad right now.
Yeah.
A few hours later, Chris gets up and he gets ready for work. It's probably about 4 o'clock in the morning at this time. Okay. So he wakes up Shanann to talk to her about their relationship, according to him.
Oh, boy.
In the interviews later, he tells the detectives that at this time he told Shanann that he wanted a divorce. According to him, she then accused him of cheating, which he did not admit nor deny. And then again, according to him, she blew up. And at this point, she was saying she knew it. She knew he was cheating, that he would never see the kids again. She was going to take the kids away. And he says that this is when he snapped and he jumped on top of Shanann, straddling her and strangled her to death.
Oh, man.
Now, according to Chris, she didn't fight back and he had no wounds on him to indicate that any struggle had taken place. Now.
It does kind of seem like something she would say, though.
It does seem like something she would say.
Sorry to be, but...
But this is not what actually happened.
Oh, okay.
So what really happened...
Wait, how do we know?
Because after he goes to prison for this, he finally, the next year, tells the true story.
All right, let's hear it.
So what really happened was they did have sex, as we know happened for sure. Shanann goes to sleep. And he then quietly creeps into his two little girls' bedrooms and he smothers them with pillows.
Oh my gosh.
When he was satisfied that they were dead, he went and woke up Shanann and he got on top of her and straddled her. And he basically started having the conversation with her that he felt that they had fallen out of compatibility with each other and that he wanted to get separated. And as he had said before, she was getting mad at him. She apparently said, "You'll never see the kids again." She does not know that he has already gone and smothered them. "You'll never see the kids again." She was yelling at him to get off of her. "Don't hurt the baby," because as we know, she's pregnant. And he said at this point, he just strangled her.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what does he think? That I'll definitely end up with Kellogg now?
He literally said that when he was on top of her, he thought in his head, if I don't do this, she will prevent me from being with Kellogg.
So that's just stupid. So you just murdered your two children. Either which way, you're not seeing Kellogg.
Yeah. Well, and now your wife with your next baby inside.
Yeah.
Which was going to be his boy. And they had decided that they were going to name him Nico.
Oh.
Yep. So then he's done the deed. He's then deciding, okay, what am I going to do? I have a bit of a mess on my hands. So he takes the bed sheet and he's wrapping her in the bed sheet and pulling her off the bed and onto the floor. And that's when, to his utter shock, Bella appears in the doorway. So he did not successfully kill either of his children. He just smothered them with pillows until they were unconscious. And then after a period of time, they both regained consciousness and got out of bed. So Bella comes to the doorway. She sees what's going on. Chris says later in his head, he was mad to see that the girls were still alive.
Wow. You piece of garbage.
Such a piece of fucking shit. So Bella asks what's wrong with her mom. And Chris said she's not feeling well and that we're going to take her to the hospital. So it's around 5:30 a.m. Chris goes out. He backs his truck up to the family garage and he loads Shanann's body into the floor of the back seat. He then takes his two terrified daughters and puts them in the back seat as well. And they ask him, "Is mommy okay?" He says, "Mommy's just not feeling well." And then he puts garbage bags over her face so that the girls can't see her face.
Yeah.
He then drives about 60 miles out from their house to an oil site where he had been working. There he dug a shallow grave. He threw Shanann's pregnant body face first into the hole and covered her with a little bit of dirt. He then goes back to the car and he uses 3-year-old Cece's favorite blankie to smother her little face.
Oh my goodness.
Once she was dead, he carried her tiny body to one of the 2 large oil tanks and forced her through an 8-inch hatch, saying he heard her body hit the oil.
Oh, gosh.
He then went back to the car where Bella, the 4-year-old daughter, asks him if he's going to do the same thing to her that he did to Cece. He says he doesn't remember whether or not he told her yes or no.
Wow, really?
Yep. And then he took the blanket, he put it over Bella's face, and she cried out, "Daddy, no."
Yeah, I can see why you were upset over this one. It's really quite...
It's so awful.
It's just like,
He said of the three of them, she was the only one that fought him, and that she fought him like until her death.
good for her.
Yeah. He then took her body and put it into the other oil tank, which, again, 8-inch hatch. This is a 4-year-old girl. He said she didn't fit so easily through the hatch, and so he had to manipulate her body to fit it through.
Oh my God.
Now, I can't 100% confirm this, but I read somewhere that it said that in the autopsy, both of the girls had some oil in their lungs.
That means that they were breathing.
They might have still been alive when they went into the oil tanks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I can't confirm that, though, but I read it somewhere that's a possibility. So he gets rid of the rest of the stuff in his car, including the garbage bags that he had put over Shanann's face. And then he stops for a breakfast sandwich on the way home. He gets ready for work, and then he shows up at the same fucking job site where the bodies of his 2 children and wife are now buried.
You just, sometimes I don't even know if I should say it never ceases to amaze me or it does amaze me that people can just go about life after these horrific things that they've done.
Yeah.
And not that it's any better, but doing it to a complete stranger versus your 2 little babies, your wife, and unborn child.
Yeah.
Like you're just there working, just like, hey, John, it's a good Tuesday. Judge Kegel over there. Like, you know what I
Bring
mean?
back Judge
I
Kegel.
have to.
It's
Like,
just fucked. It's just
like-
fucked. Just to walk around there knowing what's there.
Yeah.
Literally within like 100 feet of where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carnage Island.
Yeah. So Shanann's friend, Nicole, the one who had dropped her off at home at 2 a.m, she couldn't reach her. Now, these two are like constant contact all the time. So Nicole's like really worried that she hasn't heard from Shanann.
Yeah.
She knew Shanann was supposed to have a doctor's appointment, like an ultrasound or something. She calls, she finds out she didn't show up. So she's like super fucking worried.
Yeah.
So she's texting her, calling her. She's like, okay, I'm coming over to your house. Her and her teenage son go over to Shanann and Chris's house. At the house, when no one answers, she calls Chris, who basically just tells her to leave his house.
Okay.
Yeah, he says, Shanann's gone for a play date. You need to leave my house. Which obviously is a weird way to talk to your wife's friend.
Yeah.
So Nicole is like, I don't think so. Like, I would know. You know what I mean? If Shanann was going for a play date, who would she be going on a play date with? Like, I would know about it. So she calls the police, obviously. The police arrive, and Nicole's just in an absolute panic. They call Chris to come home because the police, like, legally can't enter the house. So Chris slowly makes his way home from work. He doesn't tell them the garage code. He doesn't tell them, oh, there's a spare key, you can go and check. He isn't worried. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody called you at work and said, your wife is missing, she didn't show up to her ultrasound, we don't know where your wife and your 2 daughters are.
Yeah.
We're at the house. You'd think you'd be like, go in.
Of course.
Go in and look, make sure everybody's fine.
Yeah.
He does not do that. He just slowly makes his way there. When he gets there, he comes up, he introduces himself to the cop, he shakes his hand, they're chatting, he's saying, she went for a play date, everything's fine, whatever. And then he goes in through the garage and he like disappears into the house for a couple minutes before he like comes around to eventually open the front door for them to come in. So first thing Nicole notices, obviously, is Shanann's, her car is there. Both the kids' car seats are in the back seat. So she's like, there's no fucking way that they've gone anywhere. There's nobody else that's going to have 2 car seats in their back seat that can just pick Shanann and the kids up.
Yeah.
She's not going to take them anywhere without the car seats. Then they go in the house, they find her purse and her phone. And her phone is dead. So they plug it in, obviously, right away. The cop's like, let's get that plugged in and get it turned on. Nicole's going around. She's panicking. You can see the panic. She's texting people. She's calling people. She's trying to figure things out. And Chris is just like on his phone. And he's just texting. And he's just kind of like distracted. He's not really participating in anything. And then he disappears into the bedroom. And he comes back out with a wedding ring. And he indicates to the cop that maybe she's left him. Because here's her wedding ring. No note.
And you're just going to be like, oh, I guess she's gone. I guess,
Yeah, I guess she has had enough. Interesting thing that happens here, which is like one of my favorite parts of it. The neighbor, this guy that I think he's the next door neighbor.
Yeah.
He's obviously out there. He's sticking his nose and everything. And he says to the cop, I have security footage. So the cop's like, great. So the cop and Chris go into his house and they're watching the security footage. And so you can't see anything really. All you can see is just sort of like the guy's driveway and his cars and then some trees and then Chris's driveway is next to it. And then you see Chris's truck backed up to his garage. And you don't really see anything. You just see Chris kind of like going back and forth. He's like putting some things in the car, but you can't see it. And he puts a gas can on the back of the truck or whatever. You can't really see anything, whatever. And then he goes on his way. You don't see the girls. You don't see Shanann. And then the cop's like, okay, thanks, Chris. I'm just going to get your neighbor's information here so you can go ahead and go on out of here, whatever. So Chris leaves the guy's house. Right away, the guy goes, he's acting so weird. He's like, you know how he's fidgeting right now, the way he's talking right now, this, that, whatever. He's like, this is not how he acts ever. This is so weird. And then he goes, and on this tape, he's like, this guy's been my neighbor for years and years. Never one time have I seen him back his truck up to the garage. Not one time in the entire time I've lived next to him have I seen him do this. And he's like, this is weird. He is acting suspicious. And the cop tries to be like, his wife and his children are missing. Maybe he's just, he's feeling out of sorts because of it. He's nervous. You never know how people react. And the guy's like, yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But I've just never seen him behave this way.
Yeah.
And backing his truck up the morning that she's missing, to me, it's suspicious. So the cop's like, okay, thank you. He writes down whatever. Okay. Obviously, they don't like to give too much away, but I just thought that neighbor was just like so fucking spot on. Just a little detective over there. So for the next 2 days, the police interrogate Chris. Obviously, there's tapes of all the interrogations. And he starts off saying he thinks she's probably left him and that maybe she was cheating. And then it evolves to, okay, since she's been gone for more than a day now, no one's heard from her, maybe someone took them. And then he miserably fails a polygraph test. And the detective just keeps digging at him and saying he needs to just tell the truth. And she's really good, actually. She does a really good job. And she even, before she's going to give him the polygraph, she sits down and she's like, so, I know this is nerve-wracking. I just want you to feel confident in the fact that you had nothing to do with this. And, everything's going to be fine. And I'm going to prove today that you had nothing to do with this. Of course, unless you had something to do with it. And then it would be very stupid for you to be here doing this test. It would be very, very, very stupid for you to be here taking this test.
She's good.
Yeah. And he was like, yep. And then they started and like almost immediately she's like, okay, I need you to control your breathing because you're really throwing everything off. And he's like, sorry, sometimes I think I'm breathing too little and then I think I'm breathing too much. Like,
it would have been better if you, like, sometimes I just have an issue with anxiety. So, there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, as I said, he failed that polygraph test. At one point, she starts to try like a different tactic on him. And she says to him, you know what? I know chicks are crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So she's trying to like get on a level. And she's like, maybe Shanann did something to the girls. And then you see his little wheels start to turn. Like he's like, oh yeah, this is going to be my out or whatever. So at this point, he says to them, I need to speak to my father because the father has flown in or driven in or whatever. And he's been waiting there now for 5 hours. He hasn't seen Chris yet. I need to speak to my father. And the other detective goes, okay, if we let you talk to your father right now, will you tell him the truth? Will you tell him what happened? And he's like, yes, I just need to talk to my father. So the father comes in. Chris is all like, I'm like mumbling and, being really quiet. And then he goes, I can't protect her anymore. And the dad's like, protect who? And he's like, well, she killed them. And the dad's like, Shanann killed the girls? So his story now to the father is they had a fight. While they're separated in the house at this time, Shanann goes into each of the girls' rooms, smothers them, and then Chris realizes what she's done, flies into a rage, and strangles her to death.
Okay.
So that's when obviously the detectives are watching this. So they like get back in there super fast.
Yeah.
And they want to get this like first version of a confession. So they're sitting with him and they even ask him if he's okay with the public thinking that Shanann killed the girls. And he insists that that's what happened because he didn't hurt those girls. He didn't hurt those kids or whatever. And they just keep being like, so you're okay with everyone, all of the family and the public knowing, thinking that Shanann killed the girls. You're all right with that. And she's like, yeah, because I didn't kill them. I didn't touch those girls. I didn't do anything to those girls. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you tried to kill them twice.
Okay, literally. Oh, piece of dirt.
So Chris was charged with 5 counts of murder. So what that is that he was charged with first-degree murder 3 times. So 3 counts of first-degree murder. Yeah. And then in Colorado, they also have a charge that's murder of a child under 12. So he has 2 counts of that. So that accounts to 5 counts of murder.
All right.
In the first degree. And then 1 count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy. And then 3 counts of tampering with a deceased human body.
All right.
The prosecution consults Shanann's parents as to do they want to seek the death penalty for him. And they said, you know what, there's been too much death. He killed them. We don't want to be responsible for making the same decision that he has made. So we would rather death just be taken right off the table.
Okay.
So because of that, Chris pleads guilty to all 9 counts.
Okay.
On November 19th, 2018, Chris was sentenced to 5 life sentences for murder, plus 48 years for the termination of pregnancy.
All right.
And another 36 years for tampering with the bodies. And it wasn't until February 2019 that he actually gave the truth.
Yeah.
Or like, as we're getting closer to the truth, I guess, as to what happened. He even admits at some point that earlier on in the pregnancy, he dosed her with some oxycodone because he was hoping she would have a miscarriage.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So now he's in Dodge Correctional Institution in Whippon, Wisconsin. And he was transferred there to be in protective custody from Colorado because he was in danger.
I mean...
There's this quote, this detective, Dave Baumhover, he said, Watts explained he enjoyed being in the new prison that he's in, much more than Weld County Jail in Colorado. Watts said that when he was in jail in Colorado, other inmates would constantly yell at him from their cells, giving him advice on how he could kill himself in his cell and what other inmates would do to him if given a chance.
I mean...
Yeah.
You did horrible, horrible, horrible things.
Yeah.
To your own children, wife, and unborn child.
Oh yeah, he would be destroyed if anyone could ever get their hands on him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It just infuriates me when people do these things, but then they want to be like, oh, I'm scared to be in Gen Pop.
Yeah. Well, now he spends 23 hours a day in a cell, and he has 1 hour to shower or exercise. But he receives and responds to many letters with sexy pictures from many stupid loser women. He also has pictures of Shanann, Bella, and Cece.
Really?
And he says they haunt him every day, and he sits in his cell, and he basically just, like, talks to them.
So where's Kellogg?
Oh, Kellogg wants nothing to do with them.
Oh, okay. Well, Kellogg's got some type of...
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, I didn't mention her much because... I don't know. She.
I mean, it's one thing, I guess, to have an affair, but I guess to be with a murderous man, you just want no parts of it. So.
Yeah, like when it all went down, she did go in and get interrogated, and she was like, you know what? Everything he said to me was a lie. She was very open with like her texts and everything. Although she did Google, can police trace text messages?
Really?
Yeah. So I think I don't think she was like hiding anything. I think she was just like, I don't want to have anything to fucking do with this. Because you see when she does go in there, she says, okay, first of all, I think Chris is a really nice man, but I'm also worried about his wife and his children.
Okay.
So And then, as far as I know, after that, they never had any contact again.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess that's saying a little bit of something for Kellogg.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the fucking awful story.
Honestly, it's just so sad. It's so sad.
Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I know. I just
can't
like,
even.
when I decided to do it, I was like, why? Why are you doing this to yourself? Why? So, sorry about that, everyone.
Honestly,
sorry if you were having a nice day before this.
all the more so if you're in an emotional state of the month.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
Or of the life.
Or of the life.
Yeah.
What was my question again?
Your question was the fact that Nicole described her as like controlling, but like not in a bitchy way.
Yeah. How would you describe
How would
me?
I describe you?
Yeah.
I would describe you as controlling in a super bitchy way. No, I would describe you as like a very positive, happy-go-lucky kind of person, fun to be around. Just someone who always like looks on the bright side of things and very confident and funny and a good friend. Yes. I have all sorts of good things to say about you.
Well, you are my adultier adult.
Oh, yeah, right.
You just are.
I always will get a voice note that will say, I need an adultier adult. Question incoming. Then I'm like, okay.
Because she just, like, I'm an adult, but, like, certain things, I just need an adultier adult.
I needed an adultier adult, too. Last week because I got a letter about my hot water tank and I was like, what's this? I was like, I think I know the answer to this, but then I went on like we have all these real estate Facebook groups and they're full of real adulty adults. So I posted it on there and I was like, hello everyone. This does not pertain to a client, but something we all discuss. Hot water tank rentals. Who can tell me what to do? And then a lot of people had opinions, but there was one woman who's like my adultier adult. And I waited for her to put hers in and then I was like, thank you, Sandra. I was waiting for your opinion.
See, there's certain things that, like, I know who I'm an adultier adult for, but it just, I don't know, there's just certain things, a lot of the things that I need help with are things that you're just not automatically, you have to learn at some point too, but you know what I mean. And I'm just kind of like, oh, I know that you would know this. And sometimes I will try to, like, do it on my own. And I'll be like, oh, Sarah?
It's just easier to ask.
Sarah? She's filled with just random facts about things.
Yeah.
That you'll be like, I was thinking about that. And she'll be like, actually,
let me tell you the history of that. And I'll tell you exactly everything that you could possibly know about it.
Right? Sarah's punctual. She's on time. She has taught me the value of respecting people's time.
Yeah, that's important.
It is important.
I was also taught that by my mother.
Julie, we're going to circle back to you. But she's so funny and she's very, what's the word? Not aggressive.
She's aggressive, but not in a bitchy way.
No, like assertive. Like she's going to tell you what's what.
Yeah.
But not in an aggressive way.
But like, she's not a bitch, I swear.
It's like, okay, for example, sometimes you need to be told things out of love. She will tell you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to hear it. And you're like, okay, so I got to go back to work now.
But I do say it in a loving way.
She does. Oh, you know what? For the OGs, if you remember me saying sometimes, like, if I had an idea for the show, and then Sarah would be like, we could do that. But maybe we could also try it this way, or maybe that wouldn't work. But if you want to,
I'm willing to try. Yeah, I don't like to rain on people's parades.
That's what I mean. Like, if it's a situation, like, there's been times, I can't even think of something. Oh, one time I was upset with my other workplace, and then she's like, but to be fair, you are always late. I was like, that's not what I'm saying. I just mean that I still show up. You should be glad. But you're hired to do something at a particular time that, they need you to be there.
Like, if you're consistently 11 minutes late, may I suggest setting your alarm 15 minutes earlier? Just a thought.
But if you want to.
But if you want to get fired, you just continue on just exactly the way you're doing it. And that's fine.
That is okay.
And it doesn't change the way that I feel about you.
I do have an extra room in my house if worse comes to worse.
Yeah. You can't come there because you're allergic to everything. But it's there.
You know, Benadryl, I'm sure we can make it work for a month or two. But, you know.
You'll never wake up again. But
that's that.
oh, God, that's funny. So this just turned into a pump each other's tires episode.
Sometimes we need that, you know?
Yeah, we needed some laugh after that horrendous story.
That is true. That is true.
It was so hard. It was just such a hard one. Not even, okay, because of the subject matter, totally.
Yeah.
But the volume of videos and photos of them and him being such a fucking like doting, loving father. It's all videos of them playing with the girls. They're hugging the girls. They're doing this with the girls, that with the girls. They're going on family trips. It's just like, it just seems,
you know what it is
perfect.
For me? Where did it switch in your brain that it's like, if I murder everybody, I can just go live my life? And that's why I said I didn't know the details of everything, but it kind of seemed like you're just tired of all of this responsibility. It's got to you and you've had enough, and you just want to go off and have fun with Kellogg and have frivolous just fun and just, and she's too naggy to just be an ex-wife.
Right.
So naturally you just X out everybody? Like, what is your thought process?
Like, before I knew, so I didn't know about the thing where he tried to smother them first.
No, I don't think that's common knowledge.
No. And so I was like, okay, so he kills Shanann, and then Bella sees it, and she's 4. So that's too old to have that not come out when she gets questioned about it. So then I was like, okay, so then he probably thought, okay, now I have to kill her. And then was like, okay, now I have to kill the other one because that just basically completes the set.
Yeah.
Or like it's going to be suspicious if one of them is still alive.
Yeah.
So, but then I found out that he tried to smother them before.
But it's just like you could have literally run off with my girl and that would have been that.
But also, what was his fucking plan? Because you can tell by watching the tape that he didn't have that thought in his mind to say Shanann did this until she said that to him, the detective.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was like gonna smother them and then strangle her and then be like, yeah, she killed the kids. He hadn't thought of that.
But even if that was the case, are you telling me that you wouldn't be upset, rattled, whatever, because this had happened? Even if that, just for argument's sake, if that was the case, she killed the 2 children, you killed her, so you don't exactly want to be found out for killing her, but you could have flipped it and said it was self-defense. Done a year or 2, gone about your day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I feel like just nothing really adds up for like a solid why.
Yeah.
Why they do that?
Yeah. There's no real like final explanation.
I mean, dads leave their kids all the time and don't look back. Why did you feel the need to have to unalive them?
Yeah.
And then not only that, but then you try to dispose of them in such a horrible, horrific way.
Yeah.
And then one of them's not fitting. That really got in my brain. I gotta get that out. But
yeah, that's the part I remember. That's the part I think I always remember from it. Like, I never looked that much into it. So in my brain, it was always like he had those like oil tanks, like the small ones, like the oil drums or whatever that you could have like in your garage or something.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, he had like put all their bodies in oil drums and then like took them and threw the drums away, but not at all. And I think he buried Shanann because she wouldn't fit in the oil tank.
She was gonna fit.
Yeah.
You said it was 8 inches.
Yeah. Look at how small 8 inches is.
I mean,
oh, come on. Not appropriate.
I didn't even say anything.
Not appropriate. If it was me, you would say, you're stupid.
I didn't say anything. Guys, you didn't hear me say anything.
We all know. We all know.
I just put my fingers what I guessed.
It was the side eye. It was the bombastic side eye.
Side eye. Oh my gosh. Okay, all I'm saying is that, 8 inches is small.
That's way bigger than 8 inches.
Okay, so what is it?
This
here?
is like 8 inches.
That is not 8 inches.
Yes, it is.
No. What is the size of this?
Oh,
3
this is
inches.
8.5.
Oh, that's okay.
That's
so
8 inches.
that just seems small. Are you sure?
Yes. This is a piece of paper is 8.5 by 11.
I mean, either way, either which way you look at it, it's just, and then you just put them in there and then just went and got breakfast
Yeah.
and then went back to work. Like, oh,
Went back to that site.
like, I just, in my mind, I'm like, how do you, and then you don't even have any remorse. You
Yeah.
don't have any second thought.
There's
you
literally
don't even think
not-
to plan out your own, like, escape route just in case it's found out.
Yeah. There's not one time even that you see a tear in this man's eye.
And how do you get to that point? This whole time you've been living life according to, the average person. You meet a woman, you fall in love, you start having children, you're building a family, you're building a life. Yes, life is unpredictable and it's got issues and so on and so forth, finances, whatever. But when did you turn into this, like, cold-hearted killer
Monster?
with zero empathy towards your own children and
Yeah.
wife? The people that you are literally programmed to love unconditionally, F the wife, fine, but the children.
Yeah. And I was saying to Ahmed too, I told him, I just gave him literally a 2-minute synopsis of this story. And I was like, it's scary for there to be some deranged stranger out there that could come into your house and stab you up while you're sleeping, whatever. That's scary. But what's terrifying is to be a wife with little girls or a little girl or whoever, child, and for your daddy
Yeah.
to come and murder all of you.
Yeah.
His main role in life is to be the protector of these people.
Yeah. Your first and foremost thing.
It's so disgusting. It's so fucking
And
disgusting.
then most men, yes, they love their girls, obviously, but then they get their boy. Their boy.
Yeah, that
baby
too.
boy.
That she kept being like, oh, it's such a blessing we're having a boy because I think it's really going to revitalize him. And yeah.
Thank you for coming on down.
Again, sorry about that.
She's sorry. She's sorry.
Episode 50.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I haven't picked a person yet, but
Let's take it way back. Let's go back to caveman days.
you know what? There is some people on the list that's oldies.
Yeah.
So I can't throw that in there. But we'll see.
Anything with a humorous twist would be fantastic if you could find it for us.
Lately, we've been pretty gross.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, too? When I was listening to the other episode,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, I got a juicy one for you sickos out there. I was like, stop calling them sickos.
They love it.
I think you guys do love it.
We're all sickos and we know it.
Well, we love you.
Yes, we love you. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next Tuesday. And bye.